Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, very briefly this morning, the word I want us to talk about is fasiq. 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 It's appeared so many times in the Quran, I think over 50 times, I think 54 to be specific. And translators have it with different translations in the Quran, you see. But here today we want to look into what it really means classically. So fasiq is said of, so originally they never used to use fasiq for humans. Before the Quran, they never used fasiq for humans. They only use fasiq for fruits. And an example would be like a potato that has like a round shape, and for some reason it starts growing an extra bump on its side, and sometimes that extra bump doesn't even reach fruition, and so it comes out, and it's an avenue for it to, because of its unripeness, it then spoils the entire fruit itself. And so this is fasiq. So fasiq is that protrusion from plants or from fruits that then somehow spoils the main fruit, you see. And this is fasiq. This is the expression. This is what fasiq really means. We find it in other fruits, of course. We find it in even in dates, in you name it. A lot of fruits have those instances. And so we find that in the Quran, when Allah told everybody, all the celestial beings, to prostrate to Adam, and Shaitan refused, Allah referred to Shaitan as fasiq. Allah referred to Shaitan as fasiq. So there is that fasiqun. So him not conforming to what the other celestial beings have done is him basically protruding outside of the form, outside of the structure, or outside of the command of Allah, and so is fasiq. And so anytime we go outside of what is expected of us as Muslims, it can be referred to as fasiq. Another example is Surah Al-Hujurat, where Allah basically called those that call people nicknames, that's bad nicknames, basically fasiq. Allah called those that call people with bad nicknames fasiq. So from Shaitan disobeying to calling people nicknames, you see, it's all fasiq. Another place in the Quran, Allah talks about the precursor to we destroying a town is that the inhabitants of the place start doing fasiq. So the precursor, so they start doing fasiq, and then we destroy them, you see. And so it goes back to the fruit in that. So when the protrusion starts happening, that's already preemptively going to spoil the fruit, you see. And so there's this overall destruction. May Allah not make us fasiq or fasiqun. May Allah help us to be better Muslims. May Allah ease our affairs. So whenever we're reciting the Quran and we start noticing all of the things Allah called fasiq, we can now internalize it and see how fasiq really affects our daily lives. There are a lot of actions that Allah has referred to as fasiqun. I mean, Allah told Shaitan to prostrate, and he refused, and that is fasiq. And here we are, Muslims today. Allah is telling us to pray 5 times a day, you see, and a lot of us basically to bow to him, and a lot of us aren't doing that. And so may Allah ease our affairs. May Allah not make us fasiqun. May Allah guide us. May Allah guide every step we take. May Allah guide every move we make. May Allah ease our affairs. Allahumma salli wa sallim. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.